So Eddie Jones is now officially a cherry blossom for Japan, taking over as the head coach for Japan Rugby again. All right, Brave Blossom. I'm so sorry, Brave Blossom. And I gotta say, like, this is hilarious because it was the worst kept secret. Like, this man, if you don't remember, he was just over in Australia, completely shat the bed in Australia in the Rugby World Cup, not picking players, poorly developing. But, this guy's got a legend. This is like a first round draft pick that has a mediocre success, but has not fulfilled the agreement as in the times where it mattered most versus when it didn't. And then obviously talks back. Like, I feel like this is what Zach Wilson for the Jets would end up being like. Like, you're just always going to have chances, but your performances in the past, will they make up for what you do in the future? I don't know. But this is one that I thought was really, really interesting because of the fact that everybody does not like this guy. Like, it is wild how much it's disliked. Now, for me, I'll be honest with you. I liked Eddie Jones. I loved what he did with Japan in 2019 and did during the 2015 Rugby World Cups and making them an absolute contender. Like, it was a team that nobody had any expectations of, a team that absolutely just felt like they shocked people, even though they'd got a great system and they have a great element to it. But it's just a system like Japan showed them, and it was under Eddie Jones's watch. What he did in England, I thought it was solid. He was able to get them, at least around the Six Nations. I don't think they won, but around it. And the comment, dude, I gotta put this on. Yo, shout out Average Rugger. Yo, the man has said Eddie Jones, the dictator himself. Oh, bald-headed Eddie doing bald-head Nissan Ultimate driver activities in Japan. Yo, let's go. But yeah, like Eddie Jones, he has a reputation. The man is a talker. He talks smack. He talks back to the press. The man really likes to do things his way, whether it is right or whether it is wrong. It's sometimes hard to be able to tell. But I think in this Australia round, man, that was highway robbery in some way, shape, or form. England, I feel like he needs more slack. The ending wasn't so pretty, but he started off really, really well. But I wanted to look down his resume a little bit because I think this one is the one that you just got to get it, because I don't think a lot of people always get it whenever you're outside of the countries about what the Eddie Jones, let's call it the Eddie Jones effect, really actually is. So let's run down his resume. So Eddie Jones, all right, we're going to call it. He was born in Australia, technically Tasmania. He was a former hooker, all right? So they got to be antsy. All hookers got to be antsy because you was smack dab in the middle there, trying to be, catching the ball with your feet while you got these two big guys squeezing you and you got people in front of you squeezing you as well. All right. So he started off coaching 1994, Randwick, 1995 to 1996 at Tokai University over in Japan. 1996, he became Japan national team assistant coach. 1997, the Suntory Sunwolves, the professional team, he took over as assistant coach. 1998 to 2001, went to England, took over as the Brumbies head coach. 2001 to 2005, which one of my buddies who absolutely is a big Australia rugby fan, more league now than union, like most Australians. But this is the time that he truly learned to despise Eddie Jones. 2001 to 2005 as the head coach for the Australian national team. 2006, Eddie Jones took over as technical advisor for the Saracens. 2007, went back to Australia and took over as head coach for Queensland Reds. 2007, went to South Africa to be the technical advisor for South Africa, which means he clearly didn't finish out the Queensland Reds time. 2007 to 2009, went back up to England to be a technical advisor for the Saracens. 2009 to 2012, went back to Japan to take over as the head coach for the Suntory Sunwolves. And 2012 to 2015, which is the area that we talk about the most, particularly that 2015 year, he took over as Japan national team head coach, where 2015 we saw them have that nice little run and be able to do some damage, set a little culture there. 2015 to 2022. Obviously, he was the England national team head coach. I think topped off following at finishing second in the 2019 Rugby World Cup against South Africa, where, obviously South Africa dominated. Well, dominated. It was actually a really close game. It was a legitimately close game in 2019. And obviously a toppling failure of a campaign in 2023 going to Australian national team. So at least there's some things that we know is true. The man knows how to maneuver around. And at the same time, he is also has had successes in these respective places. Guy Average Rugby giving a little bit of insight. He is a good coach. We got our second World Cup in 2007 through his antics. So that's for Australia. So being able to do that, I mean, it gives credence. Gives credence to why. Like I said, he's a first-round draft pick. He just hasn't performed all the time as a first-round draft pick, and I think people get really antsy on him, especially because of the way he talks. Now, for me, as an American, I think that there is something that goes with a good smack talker, as long as you're able to perform. Like, I do get tired of the regular rugby thing where, like, you got to be overly respectful. You got to be on par most of the time. And I get it. It's trying to do the gentleman's sport and the hooligans game nonsense, but I do like somebody who comes with an attitude, because I think that reflects on the rest of the team. And you hit it hard, you play hard, you go hard. But again, as you get older, it's the Bill Belichick effect. If you guys know American football, the Patriots, Bill Belichick, success for a solid 20 plus years, and able to get it over. People can say he's a quarterback and say his system, whatever you want to say, but he showed success. But then whenever it's come to this late stage, the man's not as he's not as flexible as it is. And I feel like Eddie Jones falls into that. He is my way or the highway, because I've seen the success, and I don't think he believes rugby changes very much, which I do feel like there is possibly validity in that, in terms of the way of play. Like, everybody has kind of had their style, whether you're in Northern Hemisphere and England and Italy that have that hard-nosed, punch you in the throat with your forward style, or you have the more free open style like the South Pacific does with their athletes, New Zealand, Australia, Fiji, Samoa. Like, that these elements typically do the same things over and over and over again. So if his my way or the highway aspect kind of creates some stumbling, I get it. But what he does with Japan, I don't know. Like, Japan wasn't terrible in this Rugby World Cup. I just don't think it felt like they could not perform above what their expectations. And I don't think their coach did a bad job, even though he resigned. I think he did a solid job. My question will be is then, can Eddie Jones once again pull out more than what is expected from Japan to be able to go back to being a dominant team? Because it was after 2019 that was kind of the follow-up from the culture of 2015, that Japan moved from being a top-level tier 2 team to a bottom-level tier 1 team, where now they have expectations, and they have money behind them. Everybody knows about Japan League One and the amount of investment that they have in creating and developing professional players. They're stealing players from Premiership Rugby, just like Top 14, and pulling people from the URC as well. So they have something there. So I think it's kind of like, what's the system that's guiding to it? So I don't know if Eddie Jones is necessarily the one to do it, because again, he's 66, 67 years old. You're trying to vie for another Rugby World Cup. Japan will ultimately make it, because Japan's the best team in Asia right now in 15. So that goes almost without saying. But it's just like, I really hope this is kind of his last hurrah. I think getting up there, man, if you haven't made your money by this point, and I know rugby is hard to make money in, but man, the man had $1 million, albeit 5 years, $1 million, 4 years, $1 million like contract for Australia, and didn't even make it a full year. And I know he's probably finishing up being paid out from England, even though I think they stopped paying him when he went to Australia. So it's like, save your money, man, because you can't be jumping around like a hired gun through all these places, man. You almost 70, even though I do believe 70 is young in this day and age. I believe in age inflation, but it's just it's going to be interesting to see if he'll set up a system or he's going to be mad that maybe the system that he had before no longer functions in the same way that he previously expected it to do. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are all on this one. What do you guys think? Where's your position when it comes to Eddie in Japan? You know, again, a place he's seen success, a place he set up a system, a place he set up a culture. Now, I want to know what your thoughts are that go along with it. Hit us in the DMs, in the comments. I'm get it again, average rugger, man. And Eddie, bro, average rugger, you are killing me. You are killing me. I love it. Average Rugger says any Eddie Baldhead team is usually the fittest team that worked in the days of grinding 15 to 20 phases. Rucks being contested heavily, forwards following the ball everywhere. That's great, especially if you go into open space like you deal with New Zealand, where you need to be able to have ultimate ball control for them. So there again, there's a valid spot to be able to say where Eddie Jones can fit. Like I said, can Japan be able to take that next leap? They're getting a new set of players, and if their rules change and some of those pro players that have been there for a while can now move and play for the national teams, you know, Japan can be a legitimate beast and an actual contender for the next Rugby World Cup, let alone, you know, whatever we see happens for the Olympics.